All right, hey everyone, happy Friday. Back with an episode of Friday Flows here, and I'm super excited because we are doing our first story that was built by our community. So I'm joined today by Chris Cutajar from Elastic. How you doing, Chris? Good to meet you.
Hi, Blake. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Chris has built a number of stories within Tines and uses the product at Elastic. But before we get into his specific story, Chris, just tell us a little bit about your role and your team, your responsibilities at Elastic today.
Sure. So I'm Chris Cutajar. I'm based in Malta, which is a very small island in the Mediterranean Sea. I've been with Elastic for the past 3.5 years now. Been pretty fun with a lot of knowledgeable folks within the team and building a number of cool stuff across the whole organization to enable the business and reduce risk. So as a security engineer within the InfoSec function, my role is to help the different functions within the InfoSec team be able to make their life easy through automation. We build a number of data ingestion connectors using either custom code like Python, or we try to, as much as possible, use Elastic features like Beats, Elastic Agent. And of course, we use Elastic as our SIEM, and we have a number of clusters that receive data from across the platforms that the whole Elastic organization uses. And approximately as Elastic, we're distributed by design. So we're approximately over 2,500 different employees across the whole globe. Mm-hmm. So we ingest all data into this Elasticsearch cluster and use them for threat detection, detection engineering.
Let's jump into your story that you built. We'd love to see a demo and see what you put together.
Sure, let me share my screen. Cool. So the idea, so as a team, as I said, we manage a number of Elasticsearch cluster, and all these clusters are deployed using Elastic Cloud on Kubernetes using Google Cloud. And as a security engineer and the whole security architecture team, we want to make sure that the clusters are healthy, we're ingesting data is being ingested correctly. And of course, part of our job is to make the operational stuff to be able to every now and then make sure that if there's an issue, we act on it immediately. And so the idea for this story came how I can make the life of my team and myself a little bit easier. How can I, if there's an issue, how can I get the data that I really want via Slack very quickly? Mm-hmm. And the idea came to build a story to be able to interact both with GCP, Kubernetes clusters, the Elasticsearch clusters that we have, and all of these connections rather than jumping through GCP console, Elasticsearch cluster, Argo, because we use Argo to deploy Elasticsearch across the whole Kubernetes cluster, use on terminal to use kubectl. So again, when there's an ongoing investigation, I already mentioned 4 different tools that an engineer might jump to. So the idea came how I can make my life easy through one simple pane of glass, which is Slack. Try to get at least not all the information, because the idea is not to fully have a full-fledged, for example, kubectl functionalities via Slack, but try to get the top 5 or top commands that one would use to get during an investigation and get the data. So I started with a Slack application with different commands, and as you can see, I also try to use the latest features within Tines, and which one of them is still not. This is very super useful, the no match. And so as you can see, we're calling Kubernetes to get and trigger different Slack models and understanding the different models. Each model is triggering a specific branch. Now, in reality, for this story is okay, but one would say this is a little bit too much. Chris could have easily went through a nicer way using sense to story, etc. But again, with the limited time I have without focusing, because I built this story during my time, just to also showcase the power of Tines, how easy it is within a short limited of time I had built. Personally, I would say it's a very useful story that I am planning to edit within production very, very soon.
Cool.
So I'll jump into the Slack really quick. Cool. So I'll start with the first function, which is interacting directly with Google Cloud platform. So by a command, I'm triggering the GKE command that I named, which behind the scenes is calling an Argo workflow to be able to get all the clusters that I have deployed within our GCP project, and all seams that are running. The next thing I would do is go through trigger a number of kubectl commands. Generally, we'll jump into terminal first. We have to shift context, go to terminal, etc. So I want to get the pods from my test cluster within the default namespace, for example, and with a couple of small data inputs and just a command, just a press of a button. Again, behind the scenes, I'm triggering Argo to be able to interact, be the intermediary for me between Slack and my Kubernetes cluster, and again, getting all the pods information that I want. Moving on, so all my pods are running. Again, couple of like giving the services, getting services ingress. Let's get some, for example, some services. And I won't be going into the whole commands here. Anyone can go into the demo during that there is available for the You Did What with Tines there. But basically, again, getting that information about the service. Sometimes you forget what there is on a cluster, the services that are running, etc. And so maybe from a Kubernetes perspective, everything is working fine, everything looks fine. So the next idea would be, let's look at Elasticsearch. And again, here it's Elasticsearch, but in reality, it can be any platform that respective team uses. Mm-hmm. So cluster health, internally, it's very easy rather than going into the Elasticsearch cluster and typing get the whole API key to get the health of a cluster, just selecting cluster health and putting the URL for my cluster. And again, I haven't shifted to Google Chrome, Terminal, etc., but from Slack, I'm able to check the health of my cluster, which is green. getting much more information. Again, I'm having much more issues within my Elasticsearch cluster. I want to get maybe either any unassigned charts within my Elasticsearch cluster, alerts showing that there could be some unassigned charts, for example. But again, without remembering what command I want to trigger and staying in Slack, I'm able to check that there are no unassigned charts. Sometimes a reboot or a restart solves everything. So then the final command I wanted to deploy is, why not delete a command? In Kubernetes, deleting a pod would sort of mean refresh, performing a refresh. So by entering the name of a cluster, getting the name, default namespace, and entering a name of a pod, for example, from my previous executions, I'm able to trigger some commands, trigger a delete pod, etc. So yeah, that's a very quick overview of what I try to do and what I've did for the competition. But definitely it's something that I'm planning to deploy in production very, very soon.
Awesome. Well, thank you for running us through it. You mentioned you did what with Tynes competition, so I'll share that as well. But yeah, this story is public on the Tynes story library today, so go check it out. You can bring it into your tenant and play around. And then last question for you, because you kind of mentioned one of the advantages with Tynes is just being able to build a new story quickly. Especially over maybe some of the other, SOAR tools out there. So I'm just curious, like how many total stories do you think you've built so far? And, in what rough time frame?
The number of stories are for sure in the double digits. For example, one story, which is also publicly available in the Tynes story library, which I've, within literally a couple of minutes, is understanding, enabling GitHub secret scanning. With just 2 actions, I was able to automatically use Tynes together with Elastic to make sure that all our public repositories have secret scanning enabled.
Cool.
As a team, we've built quite a lot of stuff, and as you've mentioned, we're trying to be public and showcase what we've done. Sometimes we're very humble in what we do, but both technologies, it's very easy to work with, provides not just security use cases, because sometimes as a Tynes and also as a Elastic, it comes as we're a SOAR in the security world, CM in the security world. Yeah. But the nice thing is that being able to provide a platform to anyone that might be technical or non-technical to do non-security stories is super interesting, and again, enabling the business at the end of the day to make business and help them be more secure, help anyone trying to lessen the risk, but enabling the business as much as possible. And that is something that I really love working with Elastic and Tynes. Because again, sometimes, hey, we're in the security world, in the security bubble, but when you start playing with different technologies, we were able to also enable non-security people leverage the 2 technologies to help them in their day-to-day operations, which has been pretty awesome to see.
Thanks for coming on today. Really appreciate it and excited to see what y'all go build next.
Thanks, Blink, for having me. It was really fun.
See you, Chris.